We left
Recording in
off
progress.
on Ois Daled. We were speaking about the idea of the difference between the first day of creation and the other days of creation. We were talking about that when it comes to the first day of creation, that's the level of koi. Koi, that's similar to what it says, because Chaf Hey Elul, that's the idea of Koi, it's like this. It's not mamish, the revelation of Elikus, that's higher than the world. It's a level having to do with Mamalach Alamin, similar, it's Demuseinu, it's what we are similar to Hashem. And then there's the level of Zeh. Zeh היום, Tchillas Maasecha, when Adam edition came down, he was mechaber the koi l'choi. He joined the level of koi, the level that has a shaykhis with the world, that the world comes from the level of dibur, and he connected it with his level, because Yisrael alu b'machshava, because you didn't come from the level of thought. It's similar to what we say about the difference between the nevuah of Moshe and all the other neviim, that all the other neviim said their nevuah in a way of koi, whereas the Moshe Rabbeinu said it in a way of zeh. So it's a greater revelation that took place on the day of the creation of Adam Rishon, because of Adam Rishon's great shorish and the level of machshava. So now the Rebbe is going to pose a question. If we say that Adam Rishon comes from the level of thought, from the level of machshava, how is it possible that we also find by Adam Rishon that he's part of the Asarim Amoritz? So again, top of page 6, Ois Daled, page Yud. According to what we said before, that Yisrael, all of Machshava, that Adam Rishon comes from the level of Hashem's thought, which is totally higher than the rest of creation that comes from speech. Al Piza Yuksha, according to this, will be difficult and be a question. That the creation and the coming into being of a person is also through one of the Asarim Amoris. This is the utterance, this is what Hashem said, that Elohim spoke, and he said, let us make Adam in our form and in our likeness. We said the root of Neshamas Yisrael, that you are called Adam. In other words, all of us are the same level of Adam Arishon. So we are all reflective of Adam, and Adam is all reflective of us. So if we say that Yidden come from the thought that's beyond speech, and that also applies by Adam Arishon. And yet we find that the Torah attributes Adam Arishon's creation, and by extension to us, to the level of speech. So the answer is in line 6, the idea behind this is Adam, that when the Eibishter said, and he spoke, it was in a way of dibur. He said, let us make Adam, who can Moshe neshama yard lamata. That is referring to the way the neshama descended down here below. The other thing we were talking about, alu b'machshava, the way it was before. Here is the way the neshama descended below. The b'chdelis labish beguf and nefshabami, so that the neshama should be able to be low enough to be able to be enclosed in the body and in the animal soul. That must be through the level of speech. And this is similar that we have in many Mamorim and Chassidus, that there's the idea of things coming down, but derech maiver. Let's say when you say that certain neshamas are neshamas d'atzilus, even though they had to go through Bri, Yitzira, Asiya, but that's only the passing through it, so that the neshama of Atzilus should be able to connect with this physical world. If they wouldn't pass through Bri, Yitzira, Asiya, they wouldn't be able to come in this physical world. In a similar vein, Yidden come from the level of Hashem's thought, Olav Machshava. But Lepoil, to be able to enter the physical world, to enter and become enclosed and connect with the physical body, the Nefesh Bahamis, it has to go through the level of speech. But not that area, not that speech, is the source of the Neshama. Avol, now the Rebbe adds another point. Even though it had to go through speech, so now he's going to explain the concept of Maiver without actually saying it in so many words. But this utterance that we shall make Adam. Though also by this one, it also says Vayomer, which is speech. So seemingly, it's no different than what it says Vayomer Elokim Yi'or, Vayomer Elokim Tachi Oretz Deshe, etc., etc. Seemingly, it used the same term, so it's the same dibur. So he says, still in all, it's not similar whatsoever to all the other utterances. The dibur zeloi Paul shinui b'neshamim shetishtana me'etzem muhusa, that this speech that the Hashem spoke and said Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kidmuseinu did not affect a change in the neshama, that it should change from its essential being, from being coming from Hashem's thought. This means to say, even the way the neshama descended down here below in the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyim, it remains the essence of godliness of Atzilus. Similar to what we said about Neshama Atzilus, but here it's a little bit different. But L'Poyel, it's not the level of speech, which is Malchus Atzilus, the way it comes down to Biyah. It's higher than that. We can move on Gamash Namar B'Tikuni Zoyar, like it's also understood from what it says in Tikuni Zoyar on this pasuk, Vayomer Elokim Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu. So it explains what does that mean in a totally different way than the Vayomers in the rest of the Asar Amoros. So the Tikkun Zohar says as follows: V'ilei, and these, meaning who are these? Eser Spheres Atzilus, the 10 spheres of Atzilus, these of Atzilus, Amaru Li'ilei Lesser Spheres Debriya. They said, that's the Vayomer, they communicated, they spoke to these, the 10 spheres of Bria, dim mislapshim behind, because the 10 spheres of Atzilus are becoming enclosed in the 10 spheres of Bria. And they told them, Nasa Loshen Rabim, we will make, in the plural, the Tikkun Zohar explains by this, why is it said in a plural? That we will make Adam will be made B'Tzalmeinu, in our form, and we said Selam is more like the thing itself, like a sculpture which is 3-dimensional, which is more like the thing itself, rather than a demus, which is only 2-dimensional picture. So we will make between us two the 10 spheres of Atzilus that come into the 10 spheres of Bria. We will make Adam B'Tzalmeinu as a spheres da Atzilus, Kidmuseinu as a spheres da Bria. We will make the 10 spheres of Atzilus come out like our likeness, like our form and our likeness as a spheres da Bria. Meaning that then comes out from this, that the creation of man, even through Amira, even through Dibur, had both of the world, the 10 spheres of Bria, Kidmuseinu, which we said that's a lower level, the level of Koi, and it had also B'Tzalmeinu, the level that's higher in the world, the level of the 10 spheres of Atzilus, the level like Machshava, the level of Zeh, like the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. So what do we see from this Tikkun Zohar? That even the Neshama down here, even through Amira, it still has the higher level as well. Line 21, from Zem moving for this understood. Also the way the Neshama descended in the world of Bria. Yes, it has actually from the 10 spheres of Atzilus Mamish. That's the uniqueness and novelty of the utterance. We will make Adam over the other utterances. And all the other 10 mamoras, that what comes down from Atzilus to Bria is through a separation, through a curtain. As is brought down Chassidus from Kabbalah, that there is a curtain that completely like cuts off the light from Atzilus to be able to come out a minuscule, very, very tiny light that breaks through the curtain into Bria. V'hainu, this means that this cutoff, this curtain, causes all other creations are coming from the world of Bria. They don't really have Atzilus in them. They're disconnected because of this parsa. Avol Oir HaAtzilus Muster V'Nelam, the light of Atzilus is covered and concealed. It's hidden because of that parsa. As opposed to when Adam was created, Elain Amaru Elain Chulu, these said to these, Hainu, what's saying? Saying doesn't show on concealment. When you're talking to someone, you're revealing. So you're saying the 10 spheres of Atzilus said to the 10 spheres of Bria. That's not a curtain, that's not a separation. Hainu Sha'es spheres of Atzilus, Heiru Begili B'es spheres to Bria Lamatam is the 10 spheres of Atzilus shown in a revealed way. In the 10 spheres of Bria, and even lower than Bria. Meaning, Shagam Sham Tia Bechinas Atzilus Bezgalus, also there, in Bria and lower, in this world, in the Adam down here below, the level of Atzilus will be revealed, the level of Zed, the level of Tzelem, the level of the level of thought, and so on. On to page Yud Aleph, 7th page of the Maimer, Oisei. Behinde Aidei Chidush Hamshachas Achais. Mebchinas Hamachshava, Shoyrish Nishmas Yisrael Shalamaylam Adibur. What happens on Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is the date of the creation of Adam, and Adam, we said, comes from the level of Machshava. And every single year the Chayes is renewed, so that means every single year, instead of it coming from the level of speech, because that's not what has to do with Adam's creation. It has to do with what was created on the Friday, on the 6th day of creation, on Rosh Hashanah, which is Machshavas. That means every year it's happening again, it's being renewed again, the drawing down of the Chayes from the thought that's higher than speech. So it's not just there is Adam's has his special line of thought, but it influences everything else that comes from Dibur as well. The Tois of Gamba Olam Dibur is added also in the world of speech. Through that, the drawing down of the speech will be in such a way of vitality and life, not in weakening of the hands. Chassidus explains that when a person is doing work, he could sometimes tire from it, and he could be doing it in a very weak way. When a person is energized and excited about it, and so on, this gives new energy to the work. What happens in the period of time when the chayis of the previous year leaves, the chayis of Tavshin Pei Dal leaves, and the chayis of Tavshin Pei Hey didn't come down yet. Usually it's between, let's say, Rosh Hashanah evening till the Tkiyas Shofar, Rosh Hashanah that day. So then we say the whole world is living by a very minuscule chayis, similar to a person doing work, but in a weakened stature. Through the avodah of Rosh Hashanah and so on, we draw down Hashem's chayis anu. We draw down Hashem's passion anu. And in the Maimer over here, he says, how is that affected? Because since Adam is coming from the level of thought, so it's not just the externalities of speech, it's also Adam Arishan's thought. And because Hashem wanted Adam Arishan, that impacts the entire Bria. So therefore, the thought from which Adam Arishan draws down from, that causes that the life force and vitality in the rest of creation that comes from speech should be vitalized and energized by that. The Rebbe goes on to say in line 5, explained in the Siddur, about this. This is the reason why the building up of Malchus Rosh Hashanah, Yom Adam Rishon Davke, the day of the creation of Adam Rishon. We asked earlier in the Maimer, one of the questions was, since Rosh Hashanah is about rebuilding Malchus, and Malchus' idea of speech, so why are we waiting for Adam Rishon on the 6th day? The speech by Yomer Lakim began already the first speech was already on the first day, either the specific speech of Yehoir or even Bereshis Nami Maimer, who is also considered part of Hashem's speech. So why is it? Why is Binyan HaMalchus, which is reliving the same thing of the beginning, something that we wait till Adam Rish? Because key line 8, Ki Kadesh Yah Binyan the Binyan HaMalchus Inyan HaDibur, so that Malchus should be built up, which is the level of speech. There has to be the drawing down from thought to speech, like we mentioned earlier. You could also say in a simple fashion to explain this in a literal example of thought and speech. There are times that a person could say things by rote, but that after a while may get tiring, boring, uninspiring, whether for the person himself, whether for the listener, by the person revisiting that and re-examining that and rethinking what he's saying, let's say by davening. Instead of just saying it the way he always says it, he's now thinking about the words. So now the words come out differently. Now the words come out with more strength and more vitality and more energy and so on. So when we want to build up Hashem's words, we want to build up the level of Malchus, which is responsible for the creation of the world, we have to re-infuse it with the purpose of this world, which is Adam, which is the level of Machshav. So he goes on line 11, this idea of the infusion of Hashem's greater vitality into the speech and the binyan hamalchus that comes from the machshava that's higher than the speech because of Adam Rishon. That's why what was affected in the creation on the day that Adam Rishon was created, Rosh Hashanah, She'amar l'chol habriyos, he told all the creatures of the world, "Bayu kam nishtachave, we will bow v'nichra, and we will make even a lower type of bowing, nivracha, and we will kneel lefnei Hashem Eseinu, before Hashem, our Maker." What was the point over here? It wasn't just a personal recognition of Hashem. It wasn't just Adam and man, but it was about bringing the whole creation up to a higher level. Their own level was a level of speech, but Adam Rishon brought into them from the higher level, from his level, from the Machshava, from the Zeh, from the Tzalmeinu, and so on, from Soiviv. Shegam heim yamlichu aleim as HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that also they, all the creations, should crown upon them, they should coronate and accept upon themselves the Eibishter. And the Rebbe adds, and in what type of way, that they should do so out of will and enjoyment. When you say, "Come and let us bow down," he didn't order them. It's very interesting. Adam Rishon, Hashem promised Adam and Chava that you will rule over everything in the world. So Adam Rishon could have come to them in a way of a gzeira, and he could have said, not "Come, let us bow down," but he could have said, "Bow down to Hashem. I command you. I am Balabas. The Eibishter gave me control over you." No. He said, "Bayu, come." Meaning, when you say come, you're saying, it's your choice to come. You're coming because you want to come, because you enjoy. So Adam Rishon communicated and brought into the world a level beyond the creation, the delight of the creation Hashem, and vice versa. V'hainu, this means line 16, Shepal gam b'chol ha'olam, he influenced and affected also the entire world. Shenivra b'chafei be'el, that was created on the 25th of El. And therefore, on its own, it was only a level of koi, it was only an external level. So Adam Rishon impressed and influenced and brought down to the world that the world should have his experience as well. There should come down to the world the advantage and quality of the Neshamas Yisrael. That's from the level of thought. Third paragraph on the page, line 19. The idea behind this is about how Adam Rishon brought into the world this concept. Afal Pisha Brias Ha'olam B'chafei Be'el. Ha'isa Ba'ofen She'olam Amiluy Nivra. Though when the world was created in the 25th of El, even though it was only Koi, even though it was only a Demus and so on, even though it was only the Chayas of the world, but it was full and complete. It was perfect. There was nothing lacking. Like it says, Eila Toildas Hashemaim Va'aretz, it says, Moliksiv. The word Toildas says, as many times in the Torah it can be spelled without a Vav, it was spelled with the letter Vav. So the Chazal learn out from this that it was perfect and complete. Part of that completion did not just mean that physically everything was ready, that Hashem created fully grown trees, He created a fully mature Adam and Chava, He created fully grown animals and so on, not an egg that should sprout from it, a chicken afterwards, etc. But it means also that it's perfect in all of its aspects, including the godliness of it. The godliness, that the world did not conceal godliness. So seemingly, what could Adam Rishon add if the world was already made perfect and it didn't conceal godliness? So the Rebbe says in line 23, Mikol Mokum still in all how he said, Rak Dargis Halakus, Sheshechas Bechinas Hadibur, Shubechinas Koi. This is the perfection of the world. The godliness that was in the world was only that level of godliness that's connected to the level of speech, the level of koi. We said before, it's a non-luminous lens. The even though it's a lens, and a lens reveals, and a lens is not something that conceals, it's still in a way that it doesn't shine. By the way, one of the examples of a non-luminous lens is actually a mirror, where the mirror, you're not actually seeing yourself through the mirror, you're seeing a reflection of yourself. Whereas through a window pane, you're seeing the person themselves that you're looking at. That's the difference between Aspaklaria Me'ira and Aspaklaria She'ena Me'ira, according to some place of Chassidus. So if there was So despite the fact that there was a revelation of godliness, it was only in a way of koi. Came Adam Rishon and brought a whole new level of revelation into the entire creation. Line 27, Adam Rishon Paul, and Adam Rishon affected that should be revealed in the world. Should be Zeh. Not just him personally, but like we said before, he brought it into the entire world. And it wasn't just Adam Rishon, but every single Yid has this as well. The Indians and the Falgamai, they call Echad V'Echad Me'Yisrael. This is affected by every single Yid. They call on Neshamas including by Adam Rishon, since all Neshamas were included in Adam Rishon. K'mevur b'medrash al pasuk Eifa Hayisa b'Yasti Aretz. Hashem told Eve, where were you when I founded the earth? Which was, in the simple sense, it was like brought up as an answer to Eve didn't understand Hashem's ways of all the suffering, and Hashem said, you want to understand my ways? Were you there when I created the world? But the Chazal Darshan, Eifoi is a measure. The measure of you, when you were created, where was it in Adam Rishon? And which part of Adam Rishon did you come from? Did you come from his eyes, his ears, his head, etc.? Which means every person, every Yid came from Adam Rishon. Okay, moving Gamma Maimarazal Shufri, the Yaakov main Shufri, the Adam Rishon, that the image and the beauty of Yaakov was similar to the beauty and visage of Adam Rishon, meaning Shagam Nishmasi Haisa Klula Mekal and Shamas Yisrael. All the neshamas of Yidden were included in Yaakov, just like they were included in Adam Rishon. I'll explain the Geras HaKodesh, but Pirish Mashnara B'Yaakov Vayikra Keil Elokei Yisrael. That Yaakov called him the Keil of Elokei Yisrael, that is the godliness of Yisrael, that it is mamshich from it, all the Neshamas Yisrael. So since just like Adam Rishon was able to influence the entire world, so since we each have a piece of Adam Rishon within us, that every single Yid can affect in the world, that the world should be in a way of Zeh instead of the way it was created by Chaf Hei El in a way of Koi. Zel Mashnama Brias Adam Nas Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kid Musein. Shu B'chinas Zel B'chinas Koi Ken Iskral El. Tzelem, we said, is the level of Zeh. Kid Museinu is the level of Koi. And in the creation of Adam, there was both together. Since the purpose of Adam Rishon is to affect in the world, that it should be in the way of Zeh, therefore he is made up of both of them together, so he can join in the world and reveal in the world the connection of Zeh and Koi together.